It's February, which means it's time to start our 2025 temperature stitch along. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lauren. I'm the fiber artist and quilter behind Garden Girl Studio, and I am so excited that we are finally starting the 2025 temperature stitching project. If you're unfamiliar with the stitching project, it is a lot of fun. This was our 2024 temperature stitching project. The way it works is super easy. We are going to assign temperatures to different floss colors. And basically, we are going to add a dash to our project to correspond with the temperature from each day. It's a quick project, it's easy, and this year we have a brand new design. If you like this design, you can download it from the 2024 project. But if you're ready for something new this year, we are going to be stitching up a tree. How cute is that? And so each dash in the canopy of the tree is going to represent the temperature for a different day. We're also going to make a different line on the trunk of the tree for each month and a little corresponding floral element to really give our tree the little garden that it deserves. So without further ado, let's get started and jump right in. We're gonna need some supplies. Here's what you need to get started. You're gonna need the design template. You can download this from my website. I have it linked in the description below. It also, with this download, you'll get the temperature color key so that you can assign temperatures in your area to different color flosses. Personally, when I created this chart, I just did in 10-degree increments. Everyone's temperatures are gonna be different depending on where you're located. The temperatures here in New York tend to range from about 110 all the way down to about -10. So I had to expand it this year because I'm thinking about adding low temperatures into my project. We'll see, we'll get to that later. But basically, I just did in increments of 10. So if the temperature is above 95 degrees, we're gonna use this yellow color. If the temperature is between 85 and 94 degrees, and that's degrees Fahrenheit, we're gonna use this tangerine golden orange color, and so on. Now that brings me to, you're gonna need DMC floss or some kind of embroidery floss for this project. I have a number of color bundles available on my website. They come with 10 different color flosses, all ready curated to work well for this project. I will list all of the color palettes that I have on my website right here so you can see them. I have 6 palettes total. They each come with 10 colors. And as a special for the month of February 2025, I will add an 11th color to your palette if you order a palette from my website. I have created these palettes so that they are harmonious, but so that you can also distinguish between your colors so that you can have a good, fun project to work with. Size 5 embroidery needles. These are my favorite. It has a nice big eye. So if you're using all 6 strands of floss, it'll be easy to thread, which is great. I do love a good Frixion pen. This is great for tracing your project. It's heat erasable. And I use my Cricut mini press to erase the lines when we're all done at the end of the year or to clean up any line work that I want to change. You're also going to want a small pair of scissors. As you're working, it'll just help when you're trimming up your threads after you tie your knots to keep your project clean and tidy. Now I have all of these tools listed in the description below. For my 12-inch piece of fabric, I've loaded it into the hoop. I've traced my design. I used a window to trace the design. It is an 8-inch design. I'm using a 9-inch hoop just to give myself a little bit of extra space around the sides. And I'm using a 12-inch square of fabric just so that I have a little bit of extra wiggle room as I'm working on the project. Now, as a personal side note, I'm also grabbing a cup of tea today because I've been fighting laryngitis all week and my voice is just starting to come back. So if I start to lose my voice, I apologize. It probably will come in and out, but we've got a warm cup of tea and I highly recommend that you grab a cozy beverage, something to stitch up because friends, we are about to get started and dive right in. Each month, I'm going to be updating and leaving a video. I will have a full playlist just like I did last year so that you can catch up. If it is no longer January and you are watching this video, join us. It's not a big deal. You can join this project any time of the year. It's easy to either catch up or start it whichever month you're in and go until that month of 2026. That's totally cool too. We love it. So let's start stitching. Once you're all set up, going through and updating your project each month shouldn't take more than an hour or 2 at most, depending on how many distractions you have, how casual we're stitching and how quick we're stitching. So it's pretty easy. I'm going to show you my system, but feel free to adapt it for you. So again, I track the temperatures every single day. There's a website I go to that has all the temperatures for my city. You can probably find them in your local newspaper, on a local news source website, or you can just use your thermometer and track it every single day. I am going to be tracking the daily high temperature this year. Last year, if you were in on this project, you probably were tracking the average daily temperature, or you noticed that I was tracking the average daily temperature. But I wanted to have more of a color range this year. So this year I'm tracking the average high temperature, which you can see on this side of my chart. You can see I have the date listed, the temperature, so the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, and which color that temperature corresponds to on my chart. Pretty simple. Now, why did I track the low temperatures? Well, because each high temperature is going to be a dash in our tree, right? To create the canopy of our tree. But I was thinking it might be fun to incorporate the low temperature, maybe by adding French knots, depending on how much space we have in our project. So, and that could be like, you do all of the dashes one day and you do the French knots another day. But honestly, I think it could be easy to incorporate both. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Should I add French knots to this project? If you think so, I will add them before we meet up again in March to coordinate this project. Food for thought. I love colors, so I'm happy to be using the same color palette as last year so I can compare it and see how it goes. I am going to be adding the new color to our chart because temperatures dipped so low this year. In order to add your colors, just punch a little hole in the side next to the column that the color corresponds with, and then you're just going to go ahead and thread it through. To me, it gives a good visual representation. I'm a visual person, so the DMC color codes are nice, but to me, it's nice to have like an actual visual representation. So if you're unfamiliar with the DMC color codes, this green I just added, it's code 369. You can find that right on the bottom of your DMC floss. What I love about DMC floss is they have the color codes. They're easy to track. If you run out of a color, you can order more or go to your local craft store and pick an extra one up so it doesn't slow down your project. If you've been hanging out on my channel for a while, you've probably seen this embroidery stand. I also have this linked in the description below. I enjoy it for my temperature stitching project because this is a larger hoop and it can get tiring to hold on to it. So I'm going to be using it throughout this project. I think it's a great help. I love that this spins around so that if I need to tie off a knot on the back of my project, it's easy to do. These side anchors right here can adjust in and out. You can adjust it to your liking. I like having space so that my arm is here. I'm less likely to knock into the hoop. But yeah, so I'm just going to loosen this up, load it in. It's nice and simple. Tighten it back down. Perfect. There we go. And I can change the angle and tighten it back up so that it's easy to stitch. So the totals colors that we're going to be using are going to be, we're going to use 4 lavender dashes. We're going to add 4 lavender dashes. I load up my needle and we do all the colors at the same time. You can spread them out a bit based on the month. Personally, I'm not too worried. I'm going to keep them all in the same section. You'll see what it looks like. Trust me, it's easy. You'll catch right on. So we're going to do 4 lavender dashes, 16 dark blue dashes, 9 light blue dashes, and 2 green dashes. If you think I should add French knots for the low temperatures to this project, let me know in the comments below. I'm starting with our lavender color. It looks like our lavender colors kind of came toward the end of the month. There's one at the beginning. It's kind of all over, so I'm just going to kind of ease them in. I'm going to fill in this project from left to right throughout the year, and I'm going to group each month's dashes kind of in the same area. And I'm not going to worry too much about putting them in perfect order. I'm just going to kind of group them in a section to represent this was January. So we're going to add our 4 lavender dashes. I'm going to space them out because they kind of trickled through the month, but again, we're not worrying about perfection here. Okay, there are our lavender dashes. Don't forget to tie off on the back. I personally like to tie knots on my projects. If you're not a knotter, that's okay. Not a big deal. I just like to anchor everything off. Now that we've added our lavender dashes, You kind of get the gist. So we're gonna go ahead and fill in the rest of our dashes. We're gonna do 16 dark blue, 9 light blue, and 2 green. Let's go ahead and fill those in. Okay, we filled in all of our dashes. Next, we're gonna fill in our tree trunk. I'm gonna do 1 line for each month. So I'm gonna start with this line farthest to the left, and I'm using the color dark blue because we had the most dark blue dashes this month. I'm going to be using only 2 strands for this particular stitch. I'm gonna be using a whipped back stitch. For our dashes, we used all 6 strands, but for this detail work, these lines are pretty fine, so I'd like it to be pretty small. So it's going to start with just a regular back stitch, and then we're going to go ahead once we've stitched this line using a back stitch, and we're going to fill it in with a nice whip stitch. Okay, we finished our whipped back stitch. Now we're going to take on these 2 leaves. Each month for this project, we are going to be filling in a different floral or foliage part for our little garden that's underneath our major tree. So for the month of January, we're going to be doing these 2 leaves. We're going to be using a fishbone stitch, and much like our last stitch along, we're going to be making the leaves multicolored. You can opt to make them all the same color if you want, but I'm going to actually make them a gradient. So we're going to start at green, move our way into the blues, and we're going to finish at the end in lavender. And again, because this is such precise work, they're kind of fine, they're small leaves, I'm only going to be using 2 strands as I work. And because we're using all 4 colors, you really won't need to you won't need to do too many stitches on each leaf. You'll probably only need a couple back and forth on each side. So for our fishbone, we just are going to cross over that halfway line and inch our way down the leaf with each color. In order to get that ombre effect, I'm actually going to come up between my colors and insert the next color kind of before the last stitch of the previous color. And that's just going to help the colors blend a little bit nicely. Just going to kind of ease that in there. And then we're going to go ahead and continue like with our fishbone the way we normally would. We did it. We finished January's temperatures, and I know it looks like just a small space, but don't worry, we have the whole year to fill in the rest. I'm so excited. I like our ombre leaves. They came out cute. And again, we fill in each dash with a temperature for each day, and then our corresponding floral or foliage piece is going to represent all the colors from the month that we used. So if you think I should add French knots to represent the low daily temperatures, let me know. Let me know in the comments below. I think it could be fun. I think it could like fill this in even more and make the canopy even more full and colorful. So I'm kind of leaning toward yes, but you let me know what you think. I want this project to be something that you're going to enjoy as well. I hope you enjoyed this, friends. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can catch my videos each Sunday. And I'll be updating this with all of February's temperatures beginning at the month of March. So whatever the first weekend is, the first Sunday in the month of March, that is when I'm going to be updating this project. So Be sure to stay tuned. I'll make a playlist. And until next time, friends, happy stitching.